From everything that you've seen, either through your own experience, from studying other great athletes, what is the one thing that truly separates the great ones from everyone else? I'm talking about the champions, the GOATs, however you want to classify them, the great athletes. Just one thing. What separates them from everyone else?
How fast they forget. How fast they forget the good, how fast they forget the bad, how fast they forget the losses, the wins, the achievements, the failures, everything. How fast they forget. And that's what keeps the greatest athletes sane after retirement. We've seen so many athletes fall off the rails after retirement. The minute you retire is the minute you forget about the achievements, the adrenaline, the hype, the success, the losses, you forget about all of it. That was in a past life. Now tomorrow is the first day of a new life, So that's what I've seen separate the good from the great. The faster they forget, the better they achieve.
Zizo, if somebody has clicked on this podcast, they have no idea who you are, no idea what you do. Why do you think they should stick around and listen to what you have to say?
Trailblazer, I'm a history maker. I'm Saudi Arabia's first ever professional boxer, and I'm fighting on the biggest stages, the global stage, in front of thousands in attendance and millions around the world watching. So I carry a lot of pressure on me, but I do so with a lot of privilege, and the journey comes with a lot of ups, but a lot of downs as well. So if I were anybody that's looking for hope and thinking that they want to make the impossible possible, I'd keep watching.
One thing that I love about your journey, and you just mentioned it briefly there, is the fact that you are a trailblazer. You are trying to become this beacon of hope, as you've mentioned through your content, and like you mentioned as just now, for other boxers coming out of Saudi Arabia. Like you're trying to blaze that path for them to see that this is possible. Talk to me how difficult that is, because it's very easy. I don't want to say it's very easy, but it's a lot easier when you have a role model, when you have somebody to look up to say, one day I want to be like so-and-so. I want to be like Kobe. I want to be like MJ. I want to be like Michael Phelps. But for someone who's coming, who lives or is Saudi Arabian, there is nobody right now, or before you came along, there was no one that they could look up to and say, I want to be like that person. Like, how draining is that for you to be that trailblazer for all those people?
You know what? This is exactly what got me to, not just enter the sport of boxing, but to stick to the sport of boxing. Because it's one thing to start boxing, and it's a whole other to continue doing it and to stick to it after you taste the punches, you taste the bruises, and you see the effects of actually being in the sport. So this is my why. This is why I got into the sport. This is why I keep doing it. And it all started like that. It all started with me going back home and facing that disappointment and kind of let down of Googling a Saudi Arabian professional boxer and finding nobody. I found no one. And then I would Google a Arab professional boxer, and I would find nobody that came from the Arab world, someone that trained around our limited equipment at the time, our limited training experience at the time. And so it wasn't anything relatable. That's what I wanted to do. I said, I want to be that. I want to be that person who, when a young and upcoming kid who's even thinking about boxing, they don't even have to Google Saudi Arabia professional boxer right now. They can go and watch him. They can go and see him live. They can go and feel that connection. And then when one day it's all said and done, the ones coming after me could then find that result when they Google Saudi Arabian professional boxer and they find me. And then they could find others who even did it bigger and better than me because of the journey that God had me start. So in terms of it, is it draining? I would say it's actually the opposite of that. It's actually what gives me the energy. It's what gives me that push on the draining days. It's what gives me that extra, go on the draining days, because so many other things will drain a career that's so full of pressure and so full of doubt, excitement, happiness, sadness, fear, all these emotions. At the end of the day, they do drain you, either positively or negatively, but everything is perspective. And so that why I'm talking to you about, of carrying that pressure of being the first ever Saudi Arabian professional boxer, and doing it on that stage. From my first fight, I was right in front of the thousands and millions and the critics and the press and the media and even the people, you know. So it is a pressure, but again, one that I carry with privilege. It's not draining. It's what actually gives me that boost of energy, that motivation, discipline. All of these emotions, or all of these whys, won't give you on so many days.
Talk to me about the confidence and the self-belief that you need to have to succeed in the sport of boxing. And like we talked about, not just boxing, but being that beacon of hope for so many people.
It needs to be delusional. It needs to honestly be delusional. And it needs to be in a very egotistic way. And it needs to be in a very unrealistic way. Anything crazy, any word that is trying to pop into my head right now about your self-belief, I want to say right now, your self-belief in a journey that nobody has drawn before you, and you are the one that's drawing the blueprint. And you have to have such blind faith in yourself, in your abilities, and in your journey. It has to be delusional. But it also has to be delusional in the sense of, what do you say to yourself? What you say to yourself has to be delusional, to the point where even if it's not true now, you need to say it in such a delusional way where you know it's going to be true later on. Even if there's no proof of it now, there's no proof of you being the best now. There's no proof of you being good now. There's no proof of you being fast, strong. Your footwork is this, or your reflexes are that. My defense, my offense. Even if there's no proof now that it is great, it is going to be the best, I have to say that to myself, because the mind doesn't know the difference. And the mind will only eat what you feed it. So the more you feed to the mind, and I'm not saying just feed the mind positivity, the more you feed the mind how you respond to specific scenarios, the more the mind will get used to it. And that we call neuroplasticity, right? So neuroplasticity is the art of just through repetition of new experiences, the mind now knows how to react to specific situations. So if I'm sitting right now and I start doubting myself, but as soon as I start doubting myself because of a specific training session, or because of a specific fight or match or situation that's happened, the moment that happens to me, I counter that by positivity and positive affirmations and delusional self-belief. Then the mind has now registered how I react to those situations. So then next time, muscle memory is going to kick in, neuroplasticity is going to kick in. And then when I'm put in even similar situations where I'm doubting myself, doubting my abilities, doubting my confidence, the mind will respond by looking for positivity, even if it's delusional positivity, but confidence boosters that will give you that self-belief. So self-belief is the most important thing on a trailblazing journey, or really any journey, but it has to be delusional. It has to be to the point where there's that ego involved. And something that's really, really helped me tap into that is I'm sure you know about it, and I've seen it through your content, but it's something that I heavily tap into, is the alter ego.
One thing that I was thinking about while you were talking, I saw this tweet once that honestly has changed my life. It's from this entrepreneur, Sean Purry. He puts out great content, but he talked about this importance of self-belief and doubt. And he has what he calls like this circle of, I think he called like the circle of doom, or something real negative. But he said, if you're, let's say you want to start a business or you want to become a boxer, whatever endeavor you want to partake in, you start off and let's say you have low self-belief. So you have low self-belief, you have doubt, you don't think it's going to work out, you don't actually believe in your abilities. Then you actually go and do the thing. You get into your first fight, you start practicing. But because of all that low self-esteem, all of that lack of belief, all of that low, all that doubt, that leads to worse performance. So now you don't practice as hard because you don't truly think that it could work. You don't fight as best as, to the best of your ability because you truly don't think you're that great. And then after that low performance reinforces the fact that you're not good. And so it starts over again. Like the whole circle starts over again. And then you get back to the starting point, which the root cause of the problem is you don't believe in yourself. So then you perform bad again, and then you don't believe in yourself more, and it just keeps spiraling and spiraling until you say one day, you know what? I'm not that great at this boxing thing. I'm not that great at content. I'm not that great at podcasting. I'm going to just go try something else. But the problem isn't that necessarily you didn't have the talent. The problem is you didn't believe in yourself. That's where it all started. And so one of the things, kind of putting that off to the side, one of the things I've been talking to a lot of athletes about is, does confidence come from repetition? Is confidence the result of you doing something, seeing that you can do it, and then believing in yourself? Or is confidence this delusional confidence that you talk about, which other athletes have mentioned as well, where this blind faith, right? Like you believe in it before you see it, before you prove to yourself that you can do it. What are your thoughts on that? Just confidence in terms of blind faith, which we just discussed, or hey, go out, do the thing, and then once you see that you can do it, that's where real confidence develops.
You know what? I think confidence for me especially, and for so many people that I've seen build something so big in whatever journey it is, if it's sports or something else, confidence always has to start blindly. So confidence starts blindly, but it's built on then later with proof that you can do it. But the thing is with me is that the thing that kills confidence most is comparison. And the thing that kills dreams most is comparison. So unfortunately, we like to base, or we like to gain confidence, and we like to base it on proof. And then the first thing we look for in proof is how other people did it, and when they did it, and how they did it, and how fast and how slow they did it. And then we think that we automatically always think fast means good, slow means bad. The faster someone did something, the better they did it. And the slower someone did something, the worse they did it. When your timing is the best way to do it. So if I'm going to be the first ever professional boxer from a country, and I'm going to trailblaze a whole path, then I need to show the ones coming after me with the situations we are given, with the equipment, with the training experience, with all of this. This is the timing that I had to take for my journey, because this is how I was brought up. This is the equipment I had. This is the experience I had in front of me. But not because I did it this faster, this slow, then you can't do it better. Because I am doing it slower than many would want me to do it. But I'm doing it a lot better than others would think I'm doing it as well. Maybe if I do it faster than that, then that's going to be worse. So we always just automatically go to faster means better and slower means worse. And then we try to get that proof from other people to give us that confidence. But confidence has to be blind. It has to be blind before you start. It has to be blind when you're starting it. You always have to believe that you will find a way to make it happen. I work with a very good mental performance coach, and the first thing that we usually build is, how confident are you in yourself, not to achieve A, B, and C, or not to actually do A, B, and C, as in how confident am I in my jab or my right hand or my hook. The questions are always, How confident are you in your ability to know how to figure out how to jab, to know how to figure out how to throw a right hand or a hook? Because with each opponent, and same thing in life, with each situation, I can know how to jab, but with each opponent, every jab has to be different. The timing has to be different. Sometimes the pace of it has to be different. The speed and the power of it has to be different. And every single opponent gets a different jab, gets a different right hand, gets a different left hook. So, how confident am I in my abilities to think, to problem solve, and to know exactly which kind of jab I need? So I only say this because when I say the confidence has to be blind, the confidence has to be blind, but not in your abilities or in your skills. It doesn't have to be blind in your skills. It has to be blind in your abilities to know that you will always figure out how to make the skills happen, how to make them work. Do I need those set of skills? Yes, I do. Then I will train X amount and I will make it happen. I know I will. If I'm put in a bad situation, I trust my abilities to be patient, to look for the skills, train for them, and make it happen. So that's blind faith in your abilities. But blind faith in skills would be a recipe for disaster. But always have blind faith in your abilities to figure out the skills needed for whatever dreams and for whatever journey you want to accomplish. But Nick, I want to touch really quick on the story you said about the tweet, and how self-belief is so important, and how just always believing in yourself delusionally is so important. There's a story in boxing that is so famous, but nobody knows the ins and outs of it. And it's the pinnacle of self-belief and mental performance. In the thriller in Manila, when it was Ali versus Frazier 3, both fighters were destroyed. Frazier was getting beat up like he's never been beat up before. Ali's eyes were swelling so bad they were closing, and he was gone. So the round ended, and they both went back to their corners. And only a few rounds were remaining, but they're both battered. They're both done. Ali goes to his corner and he says, "Cut off my gloves. Cut off my gloves. I'm done. I'm not going to fight." And then you go to the other corner. Frazier is the same. Frazier is destroyed. Frazier's corner is telling him, "Frazier, we're going to stop the fight, Joe. We're going to throw in the towel. You are taking way too much punishment. We need to stop the fight." And he's saying, "Do not stop the fight no matter what. If you stop this fight, I'm never speaking to any of you ever again." So one corner, Ali is telling his corner, "Cut off the gloves." And then the other corner, Frazier is saying, "If you ever stop this fight, I won't speak to you again." But the corner are saying, "We need to stop it." Then time comes to answer the bell, to stand up for those final rounds, and it's time to go. Ali stands up, and his corner are telling Ali, "No, champ, we're not going to cut off the gloves. Please, champ, you need to get up. You need to keep going." Ali stands up, puts his hands up, as if he's saying, I don't want to fight. Joe Frazier's corner see Ali doing that, standing up and putting his hands up, and they think Ali is ready to fight. They throw in the towel. So they throw in the towel for Frazier, and they stop the fight and they quit the fight, and Ali ends up winning the fight, even though he was begging for his corner to cut off the gloves and to just quit the fight. But the lesson through all of this is, no matter what happens in that final push that you need, when you are doubting everything and even the people around you are doubting you, answer the bell. Always answer that one final bell. Whenever you feel like there is no hope, have that delusional self-belief, have that delusional confidence, and answer the bell. And you never know what's going to happen. You had two different stories that were happening right there, but it was the guy who stood up to answer the bell at the end was the one that won.
That's such a great story. The part that I love that you mentioned is the belief in your ability to figure it out. because often through life, same, boxing is a great metaphor. You brought up, hey, not every jab is going to look exactly the same. Not every hook is, some opponent is going to be better at deflecting jabs. Some opponent is going to be better at, taking right hooks, whatever. But that is so, it's so true within life as well. Like no two situations are ever going to be the same. And what worked in one situation is not going to work in the other. But if you have the belief in your ability, like you said, to figure it out, and that you can overcome anything, then you're just going to go into any situation without fear, or very little fear, perhaps. Michael Jordan talks about this, where he said, people always assume if I miss a game-winning shot, I'm defeated, I'm, whatever, sad. He was like, no, because I know in that moment when I took that shot, I did everything I could do to prepare to make that shot. And I was confident that I had done everything that I could to prepare to be able to take that shot. Listen, sometimes you're going to miss. You're not going to hit 100% of the shots that you take. But I could go to sleep that night knowing that I did everything I could to be in a good position to hit that shot. And then, some things are out of our control. Maybe the wind blows a little bit this way or a little bit that way. The shot doesn't go in. That's fine. But as long as you have the understanding and the belief that you did everything you could, you live with the results. And so I think about that often, is like, if I do everything that I can to prepare for a podcast, and I'm confident that I'm as prepared as can be, sometimes I have an off day. I'm human, maybe some days the questions aren't coming, but that's all right, because I can go to sleep knowing that I gave it my best effort.
You know what? A few months back, I fought in New York, Madison Square Garden. It was my 9th fight. And it was, MSG is the pinnacle of sports. And and it was set up the way the fights happen in Madison Square Garden. Each fight has to be a 50-50 war. I was in a 50-50 war, and I was handed my first loss of my career in that fight in Madison Square Garden. A few months after, Canelo, if you know Canelo is the face of boxing right now. Canelo then loses a fight a few months after, and they ask him in an interview, you lose so rarely. How do you deal with the fights that you lose? And he just looked at the reporter asking the question, and he said, I really don't. He said, it's happened in the past. I can't go back and change it. I look where I could have been better, and sometimes there was no way or no skill where I could have been better at. It just wasn't my night. We move on, we focus on today, and then today takes you to tomorrow. He said, so really, you can't really change anything about it. It's boxing, it's going to happen. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. We move on and we go forward. So I bump into Canelo a few weeks after that interview. They had a huge fight in Egypt, and it was in front of the pyramids. It was amazing. And it was for the World Heavyweight Championship of the world. So it was crazy. So I bump into Canelo, and I stop Canelo, and I say, by the way, I saw your interview where you spoke about your loss, and I was just handed my first ever loss, and it happened at Madison Square Garden. And the fans enjoyed the fight. It was the first time I ever got a standing ovation from the fans, just because of how much of a war that fight was. And they loved to see that. And they didn't expect a Saudi fighter to be in such a fight. And then I was telling him, but hearing your interview and seeing how you dealt with the loss and how you think about it, I just want to say thank you, because that's really what I needed to hear. And then he drops something gold. Canelo tells me, and this is Canelo, right? Canelo says that the win or the loss happens in the gym and in the effort you put in the fight. He said the effort you put in the gym leading up to the fight and the effort you put into in the fight itself is what determines a win or a loss. He said if you do everything and if you put in your max effort and you try your best in the training camp and come fight night, you are giving your all, and then you still lose, that is not an outcome. That's just a result. He said, that's just a decision. That's just a result. That's not an outcome. The outcome is you won. The result is you lost. He said, but if you don't do anything in the training camp, you slack off, you go into the fight and you're not really, you're giving up on yourself and you're not putting your all into the fight and then you lose, then that's both an outcome and a result. He said, separate the outcome from the result. He said, don't say you lost at Madison Square Garden. He said, you didn't lose. He said, you gave everything in the camp. You gave everything in the fight. The fans saw that. He said, you won. It's just 3 judges ringside gave it a result of a loss, but the outcome was you won. Hearing that from a champion like him just shows you the mentalities of the Kobe Bryants, the Canelos, the LeBron James, and so on and so forth.
That's amazing. You have so many great stories, man. I'm enjoying this a ton. I knew this was going to be a great podcast, but I think it's already beating my expectations. Steph Curry, I feel like we could go back and forth all day. Steph Curry talks about that. He said his quote is literally, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he's like, if I go 0 for 10, I still have the confidence that the next one is going to go in. Yeah. Meaning he doesn't care about what happened in those 10 shots. Now, what you talked about, like, is there something that he could have maybe done better? Maybe he realizes his form is a little off. But the point is the confidence is still there. The confidence never wavers. If he misses 10 shots in a row, he still believes that the next one is going to go in. And then my favorite part of that quote is like, if I hit one shot, that's it. I'm hot. Like I'm hot again. Like I'm like I have the feeling that I'm going to hit the next 15 in a row. We talked a little bit about self-belief and about confidence. I think a big part of that, and I think you mentioned it a little bit, is self-talk and the voice inside your head. And sometimes it's you say it out loud as well. I've seen athletes before big races, or Ronaldo before he takes a big free kick, you literally see him talking to himself saying, I'm the best, I'm going to do this, you're great. What are some examples of some self-talk that you do? What does that voice inside your head say before big moments, or perhaps maybe before you're going to sleep, or in a moment where you're seemingly relaxed?
You know what? I always like to bring myself back to a question whenever I'm getting the negative thoughts or even the positive thoughts, the doubt, the fear, the excitement, whatever it is before a big occasion. I always ask myself one question. I say, do you control your thoughts or the thoughts control you? Because if you don't control your thoughts, the thoughts will control you. You're meant to control your own thoughts. Let nobody else or nothing else fool you into thinking we don't control our thoughts, or that the thoughts are supposed to be controlling you. It's just when you don't control them, when you don't believe you do, when you don't think you have that power, then you let the thoughts control you. You give the thoughts that freedom to control you. So I am always, like I was saying in the beginning, I'm always delusionally talking to myself. Let there be proof or let there be not. The things I'm always saying to myself in whatever scenario or situation I'm put in is always positive. Think about it like visualization. The way visualization works is the art of visualization is mimicking something so vividly and imagining it so vividly to the point where the mind and the body both feel it's real. Because again, the mind doesn't know the difference. So it has to be so vivid where the body starts firing the same adrenaline, the same nerves switch on, the same muscles get tight. So with visualization, you have to visualize both the positive scenarios and the negative scenarios as well, but you always visualize a positive outcome. So even if I visualize myself getting knocked down in a fight, I have to visualize myself getting up the right way, staying calm, and still winning the fight. What am I going to do to still get up from that knockdown and win the fight in the end? And it's the same thing with positive self-talk. When you are put in a negative situation, you embrace the negative situation, you embrace the thought, you notice it, you accept it, you stand there and you meet it, but then you give it a positive outcome. You give it a positive self-talk or a positive affirmation. So if I'm doubting myself before the night before the fight, or even just the minutes before walking out, if I'm doubting specific abilities, I say, you know what? I'm feeling this doubt emotion because of the occasion I'm about to go into. I'm about to fight in front of thousands and millions are about to watch. I'm feeling doubt. My chest is getting tight. But I'm going to be able to handle that doubt. I'm going to be able to handle that doubt, and I'm going to be able to perform regardless of that doubt being there. And that's what I mean by the trust in your abilities. So I'm not trying to shut doubt away by how strong my jab is going to be or by how accurate my right hand is going to be. Because then if that doesn't happen in the fight, the mind is going to start to subconsciously panic. If your skills fail you, then you are going to panic in your abilities. But your abilities will never fail you, even if the skills do. The abilities, if you have trust and confidence in them, then they will be able to find other skills that will work and find other skills, then find other skills again. So that's why I'm always talking to myself, but not proving to myself that my skills are going to win me the fight. I'm always talking about my abilities, how patient I will be, how smart I will be, how how good of a critical thinker I am, how I will see openings, and so on and so forth. So speaking to yourself and the stuff you say to yourself can change your life because you control your thoughts. The thoughts don't control you. Sometimes we're told in society, that the gray area is such an area that we should avoid. We don't like the gray area. You need to know either you are, is it a yes or is it a no? Am I good or am I not? Is it black or is it white? But often the gray area where there are so many unknowns, that is to me the strongest part and the best part any high performer and any high achiever can be in, because this is where faith is the strongest. Faith in your abilities, faith in a higher power, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, faith in the future, faith in you learning from the past. It's always the strongest in the gray area. So that's why I love being in the gray area, because you get to have so many opportunities to speak to yourself, to think to yourself. Just know how to do it and know that you always have to delusionally speak to yourself positively and with positive outcomes. Even if the initial thought is negative, which is going to happen because we're only human, and the first thing we always think is negative, we're wired to actually self-destruct. Adam and Eve, you know what I mean? We're wired to self-destruct. So the initial thought might be negative, and most of the times it will probably be negative. Don't fear that. Don't fear that. Counter it with a positive outcome of a thought.
One thing that I realized when I started studying athletes and their mindset was that they go through all of the same emotions that we do, that us normal human beings do. And the story that really kind of solidified that was, I remember reading this article on Steph Curry and how he deals with performance anxiety. And for the longest time, I remember looking up to these athletes, especially when I was a kid, and thinking, man, how awesome must it be to be Kobe Bryant or to be Tim Duncan or any of the great athletes, because they don't have to deal with all these emotions. Like, they don't have fear, they don't have doubt. Like, how? Like, I wonder how they did that. Like, how did they get over those things? And then I realized, I was like, oh wait, they all still deal with all of those emotions, but to your point, they have learned how to overcome them, like how to perform at their best despite feeling doubt, despite feeling fear, despite feeling all these different things. And that's the thing that you were talking about as well, is like, hey, you are going to think negative things, you are going to have doubt, you are going to have fear, but the importance is fighting that with counteracting that with a positive thought, counteracting that with belief. Novak Djokovic talked about mental toughness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, the reporter was like, hey, everybody credits you for your mental toughness and says it's one of your, best defining characteristics. Like, how are you so mentally tough? And he was like, I think the thing that most people get wrong about mental toughness is they think mental toughness means you don't have negative thoughts, or you don't doubt yourself, or you don't deal with all these things. No, I'm a human being. Like, during the course of a tennis match, I have hundreds, if not thousands, of negative thoughts. But I have learned how to counteract them with positivity. I've learned not to dwell on that negative thought. It comes in, it's a thought, it comes out. Like, I maybe think about it for a second, and then I'm right back to the next task at hand. So it's all about like learning to not dwell on that, to not ruminate, to not let it, and definitely not let it impact your future performance and your future actions. I love that you brought that up because it was a big unlock for me. Like once I started talking to athletes and studying them, is like, oh man, like all these, men and women deal with the same stuff. They have just developed a system for how to deal with it and still perform at their best.
Exactly, especially with the dwelling on the thought. It's not only dwelling on the negative thought, it's dwelling on the thought.
Mm.
You have to treat every single thought the same if you actually want to overcome it, positive or negative. If I have a good day, a good training session, a good fight, the day after, the week after, no matter how fast I want to train myself to forget it, it's forgotten then. I have to let go of the positive thought as fast and as good as I want to let go of the negative thought. That's where people get it wrong. They find themselves struggling with letting go of the negative thought, but they don't know they're struggling to let go of the negative thought because when a positive thought comes in or when a positive outcome comes in, you're living it. You're living it for such a long time. But you know what? If you dwell on the past, you're going to find yourself living there and staying there, both positive and negative. I was handed my first ever career loss at Madison Square Garden in February. I just fought last week. I had a career best performance against my toughest opponent to date. And I put up a career best performance after coming back from my first ever loss. I forgot about that win 2 days after. I need to forget about that outcome. I need to forget about that win. And I need to forget about the hype that I'm getting from it. The press, the audience, the media, even the belief in myself. I can't believe I came back like that. I came back with a career best performance against the career toughest opponent and after a loss. But I have to train the mind to let go of that thought and outcome just a few days after if I want to train the mind to do the same with the negative thought. All thoughts have to be treated the same. You have to embrace them, notice them, and then you let them go the same way you're going to let go a positive thought, you're going to let go a negative. And the same way you're going to let go a negative, you have to let go of a positive. So it was, I think, Pep Guardiola. Pep
Mm.
Guardiola, I love Pep Guardiola. The mental training where so many people don't understand how mentally unlocked this coach is. But he is such a good tactician in football, yes. But there are so many like that. But what all his players speak about is how much mentally he pushes them to the point where sometimes it feels like it's too much. But Erling Haaland said in the Instagram caption when he was bidding farewell, when he was leaving Manchester City, he said that you made the career best performances feel ordinary. You made the perfect days feel just like any other day. And he said that you have to have that memory of a goldfish, both positive and negative. So then the great performances feel like just another day, but also the bad performances feel like just another day. They asked him about Phil Foden, such a young player. He said, you're comparing him to Messi. How are you comparing such a young player to Messi? He said, I'm comparing him to Messi because he shot 4 shots in that last week's match, missed all 4, and the minute he shoots the shot and it misses, he forgets about it. He forgets about it. He has the memory of a goldfish. He forgets about the shot, and he said, you know who scored the 2 goals after? And they were, potentials for goal of the season? Phil Foden. He said he missed the first 4, forgot about them just like that, scored one beautiful one after, forgot about it just like that. And that's the way he was able to score the second one after it and make it just as beautiful. So you have to let go of all thoughts and treat them all the same.
That's amazing. I've already learned. I mean, I've learned a ton from you, man, in this short 38 minutes. But one of my key takeaways thus far, which I honestly hadn't even thought about before, is treating negativity and positivity with the same with the same process. talking about if you have a negative or a positive thought, you know, let it come in, think about it for a second, and then let it come out. If you lose, you know, dwell on it for maybe a day or a couple hours and then let it go. If you win, same thing. Because then to your point, you're training your mind and your body to respond equally to all outcomes, not just the negative ones. Because the thing to what you, I think, mentioned earlier is like we're always told, hey, forget about the negative outcomes, or, you know, have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to the negative result. But often we don't hear, hey, you should do the same with the positive ones and any positive thoughts that you have. So that it's actually really eye-opening. I'm still trying to kind of grasp that. But yeah, because I know with me, like I typically try to do that with negativity, be like, all right, you know, I sense a negative thought coming in or some self-doubt. I'm like, all right, don't dwell on it, don't think about it. But then in those moments where I'm like, oh, I feel so confident, I feel so great, I'm like, how do I maximize, you know, how long I can feel this way for? Like, how do I make the most out of this, you know, confidence and the self-belief that I have? So that's really interesting, man. You really got me thinking now.
You know what it is. Um, Nobody ever complains about things going well. You know,
Mm,
when how many athletes do you know and stories you've read, even just not athletes, how many people do you know that their downfall started when things started going well? Just because they dwelled on it. They started to believe their own hype, and they started to dwell on the success that they had last year. You're still dwelling on the success you had 2, 3, 6 months ago, and then all of a sudden your performances, and I'm not just talking about sports, I'm talking about life, all of a sudden your performances are going down. So you will never hear people complaining about things going well. And the way, again, we're wired, even just as humans, the way we gossip, the way we talk, we like to talk about the negative drama. So even if it's the couple who are fighting and then they got divorced, but you will never gossip about the couple who are doing great, you know, and things are going
right.
well and how it's going well for them. So it's always that we will never complain about things going well. And it was Conor McGregor when he was speaking earlier in his interview, and they said, so how do you celebrate a win? Of course, that was a long time ago before he came, the Conor McGregor that started to believe in his own hype, and that's where the downfall started. But when they asked him that before he started believing in his own hype and dwelling on his success, he said, I don't celebrate my wins. A win is a win. Only the day after or 2 days after, it's forgotten about, because the moment my downfall will start will be when I start believing my own win and believing my own hype. You start believing in your own positive confidence and performances, then all of a sudden you're not training as hard. You're not working as hard. And in boxing, especially, when I'm working with my mental performance coach. And again, that doesn't mean enjoy it. That doesn't mean be happy about it. But to feel it and embrace it is one thing, and to eternally believe it and it's stopping you from what you want to achieve is another. You can eternally believe it after you retire. You can eternally believe it after it's all said and done. Like Kobe said, you know, is job finished? Job's not finished yet. What's there to be happy about? When they asked him about if he's happy. So it's that moment where you really need to just notice it, embrace it, and go on to the next round. And that's what I mean in mental performance in boxing. We're fighting for 10 or 12 rounds. And when we're working with that situation, me and my mental performance coach, he always tells me, but listen, it's very important to end the round when you hear the bell for it to end. And I told him, what do you mean? He said, if the round went very well for you, remember, you only have a minute break in that corner. You need to forget how good that round went. How good that you won that round, it went very well. It's now forgotten about the minute that round ends. When you sit down, you rest that 1 minute in the corner. When you're about to answer the next round, it's a whole new fight. A whole new fight and a whole new round. It's the first round of a new fight. Not tactically and not strategically, but mentally. You did bad that round, you lost that round. When it ends and you go back into that 1 minute rest into that corner, it's done and it's forgotten about. Next round is the first round of a whole new fight. But if you dwell on how good a round went, you're going to do horrible the round after. And if you dwell on how bad a round went, you're going to do worse the round after. So every round has to be treated like it's the first round of a new fight. And that's how it is in life. Every single day should be treated like a new day in a whole new fight on your journey. And then you're going to end up achieving, and even you're going to end up enjoying more. You're going to find yourself in the present. You're going to enjoy the small moments that you used to let the size of the occasion make you forget about. Sometimes the size of the occasion, the size of the job interview, or the match you're about, or the fans there, they make you forget about the small moments, the prayers you're going to say in the locker room, or noticing the familiar faces there, or just what even you know what you're eating before the fight or before the moment. You know that these small moments, you kind of sometimes forget about them because of the size of the occasion. But when you treat every moment like it's a new fresh moment, you're going to find yourself being more in the present and enjoying life a lot more.
I want to come back to enjoying life because you have a fantastic quote that I want to read for the audience, and I want to get you to expand on it a little bit. But I want to take us back to you talking about the gray area. And I want to do this before I forget, because I will 100% forget, and then I'll be kicking myself for not asking you this question. When you were talking about, not everything is black or white, but in fact, there is this gray area that doesn't get talked about enough. What I thought about in my head, and you alluded to a little bit, was winning and losing and then the journey. So with this analogy, let's say one end of the spectrum is losing, one end of the spectrum is winning, and then everything in between is this gray area. And not a lot of people talk about the gray area. They just see the wins or they see the losses. I've had other athletes come on my podcast. Like I had a former backup NFL quarterback, Luke McCown, come on, and I've said this story millions of times by now, but he said, winning the Super Bowl is not as great as you think. Like, yes, sure, you won the Super Bowl. It's, fantastic. You celebrate. But an hour after you win the Super Bowl, everyone's back in the locker room. They're packing up their stuff. 2 hours after the Super Bowl, they're with their families. They're driving home. The winning quarterback is going to Disneyland. 2 days after the Super Bowl, maybe you're on your couch watching TV. 2 weeks, right? It goes on and on. Essentially, that win, the joy of winning dissipates over time. And then what do you come back to? You come back to the process. You come back to the work. And he said how actually the best part of winning a Super Bowl was sitting and laughing with my teammates about, hey, remember in week 8 when we beat the 49ers and we had that fumble and that was crazy? And remember the guy running all the way back for a touchdown? Like, hey, Drew Brees, remember when you threw that 60-yard touchdown pass? Like, that was awesome to win that game in week 15. So it's one thing I've been thinking about it a lot. And in my eyes, from what I've gathered from other athletes and studying other athletes, winning and losing, if we tried to overlay this over the course of one's life, may account for 2% of our total experience. But the other 98% is the journey. It's the gray area, to what you said, the unknown and all that comes with it. Can you help expand on that a little more and just your thoughts on the journey and all that it entails?
So that's exactly what it is. So it's two things right in what you said. First one, the biggest one, is you always have to separate the journey from the result and the result from the journey. They are two completely separate things. And then when you do that, that's what leads to what Canelo told me. Winning the Super Bowl felt great, but that's just the result. What is the outcome of winning the Super Bowl? And what is the outcome of losing the Super Bowl? That's what really determines the real win or loss in you mentally, in life, and how much you enjoy it. So when I win a fight, that's just the result. But the outcome of me winning is me now working harder, is me now looking for new coaches to add to the team to make sure I'm elevating my performances. I'm only going to go up from there. That's the outcome of the win. So when I speak about the gray area, I actually mean the gray area that can come after either result, a win or a loss. That's what determines the outcome. So if I lose a fight, that's just merely so far just a result. Then there's a gray area right after you lose. You don't know what you're going to do with your life. What am I going to do now? Where do I go now? How am I going to figure this out? What's the right thing to do? What's the wrong thing to do to avoid? What am I doing? Am I in the right path? These questions we are taught to avoid. When that's what I mean by the gray area, I think we should be taught to embrace. We should be taught to embrace those kind of questions where you are lost and you have no answers, because when you are lost, you're not just going to stand there and do nothing. We are taught to do that because we're taught to avoid the gray area. We should be taught that when you are lost, you go out and you find a way. Go out and search for a way out. You know, when as kids, you're going to see two types of kids when you're young. We've all been there. You know, you're in a grocery store or any type of store with your parents and you lose them and you get lost. Two types of kids. One kid is going to stand there, wait for their parents to find them. And the other kid is going to go out and look for their parents and find them as well. We should be taught to be the ones who are going to look for our parents and look for where they are. So when you are lost, that's the gray area. You're going to be scared. You're going to be worried. You're not going to know what's right. You're not going to know what's wrong. You're not going to know the punishments of finding your parents again. You're not going to know what good is going to come out. You're not going to know anything. But embrace that gray area, because faith is the strongest in that time. All of a sudden, the kid that's gonna go looking for their parents, they're confident. They're going into aisles they're never gonna go into. They're peeking through areas they were never gonna peek into, and they're looking for a way out. And you're gonna go try things. You're gonna go, you know, for me especially, you might add coaches to your team. You might try something new. It might, you know, guarantee it might lead to success. It might lead to failure. It might be right. It might be wrong, but you're trying and you have faith in that ability that you will try. You have faith in that ability that even if it goes right, you're going to be able to sustain it. Or even if it goes wrong, you're going to be able to find a new way. So that's what I mean by that gray area. So when he said winning the Super Bowl feels good, but then the day after, that's because that's just the result. The outcome of it is, how are you going to enjoy it with your teammates when you sit down and you recall back the memories? That's the outcome of the win. Sitting together and then recalling the memories again, but that's the journey. That's not the result. So I was asked when we were working on the idea of the alter ego, me and my mental performance coach, I was asked, you know, what are your best memories from your fights? What do you remember about your fights? And all of a sudden, Nick, I'm trying to remember my wins and what I did in the fights, and I don't remember anything. I don't remember the shots I threw. I don't remember how I started the round. I don't remember how I ended the round. I don't even remember the combinations in the middle. What I do remember, though, is the laughs and the jokes I had that I had with my childhood best friends fight week, the week of the fight. I have my 4 best friends. They all come, whatever they're doing in life, whatever work, whatever masters, whatever PhD, whatever it is, wherever they are around the world. We promise that when I'm fighting fight week, we all come and we're all there for each other. And so that's what I remember. I remember us playing Call of Duty to get my mind off of the fight. I remember us weighing in and it's time to eat after 10 weeks of a diet, and the laughs and the jokes. And remember when he did this, did that. And even after my loss at MSG, I still enjoyed that week so much. And I still enjoyed the post-fight and the moments of me and my teammates sitting together and talking about stuff and joke about it. So Eddie Hearn at the press conference, he's one of the biggest promoters in boxing. At the press conference of the Madison Square Garden fight, he said, I want you all to take a moment to recognize where you all are and what you're about to do. You're about to fight at Madison Square Garden. He said, but now I want you to take a moment and remember what I say and remember it very carefully. He said, what's more important than the wins, the achievements, and the money that will come out of this career is your moments, your memories, and your dreams that you're going to be living while doing it. And I bumped into Eddie Hearn a few days back when I won my fight. And I told him, listen, I just wanted to let you know that when you said that at Madison Square Garden at the press conference, that's what made me survive probably the loss that came after. And that's what made me survive me winning that fight and just enjoying the whole journey and separate the journey from the result. Know that a great journey doesn't guarantee a great result. And a great result is actually not guaranteed by a great journey. I had one of my career best performances in one of my worst ever training camps. I was sick for half of it. I got dropped in the sparring, and nothing was working for me. But I always told myself that I will win that fight and I will make it work, because no matter how bad the camp is, I know what I'm going to do fight night. And then I've had a loss at MSG after a career best training camp. I told people I left no stone unturned. I did everything I could for that camp. And then that's how I was taught the biggest lesson in life. Sometimes you're going to do everything you can, you're going to give it your all, and then you're going to go into the gray area. And that's the result, that gray area where you might be given a result you're not going to like, but that's not the outcome. That's how you get out of the gray area. So it's just that sports and life is going to teach you so much, but it's going to have you in the gray area for a long, long time. And you're going to need to learn to love it, love the unknown, love the questions, love you not being able to figure out, but always have confidence that you have the abilities to do so.
I want to read you a quote that you said, and I think it ties in with what we've been talking about. You said, sometimes what is written is better than what we want. We just don't see it in the beginning. What does that mean?
We always look back. We always look back after we've went through anything. And we always say, I'm so glad I went through that, and I went through that the way I did. We always eventually look back and say that exact same thing. So you might want something to happen, and you might think this is what's best for you. And then all of a sudden, you're dealt with a different result, or you're given a different outcome, and you think that's not what you want, but that's what's written for you. And then you figure out later that if you had gotten what you wanted, you wouldn't have what you have now. So if you have gotten what you wanted then, what you thought was right, what you thought was the right time to get what you were supposed to get, you wouldn't have what you have now. And then now what you have is a lot better. So I just learned that never doubt what is written for you. Never doubt what's written for you and the timing you're going to get something, when you're going to get something, how you're going to get something, if you're going to get something. Because one thing for sure is one door that closes opens up another door, always. But if you can't find the door, go out and look for it. Don't wait for the door to appear in front of you, right? So that's how you never doubt what's written. Always know that when something goes different than what you want, and you find that what's written for you is different than what you wanted or what you thought you wanted, then know that there's a hidden message there. There's a message, and it might be hidden, and you have to go out and you have to look for it, and then you have to see what happened. So of course the dream would have been to make my Madison Square Garden debut and win in devastating fashion. But then I wouldn't have gotten the respect from the toughest crowd to please, the American audience. I wouldn't have gotten the respect of, wait, there is a Saudi boxer, there is a Saudi fighter who we know has heart and can be in that type of war and can fight the tough opponents and be that type of war, and he won't give up on himself. Okay, then let that boxing side go. I wouldn't have added the people who I've added onto my team, who led to my career best performance and my career best win now, hadn't I lost that fight. So if I didn't lose that fight, I wouldn't have added the people I needed to, sat down with myself, ask myself the tough questions of what do I need to change, what do I need to do, and faced the gray area of not knowing what I need to change and not knowing what I need to do, but going out and trying it anyways, I wouldn't have done all of that. But because I lost at Madison Square Garden in front of the thousands there and the millions watching and the critics on Twitter and the people saying this and the people waiting for me to lose and all of that, if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have reached that win that I just had. So then I trusted that what is written for me is so much better than what I want to happen. Because if it wasn't like that, then if I had won at Madison Square Garden and that's what I wanted, eventually I would have lost it. Maybe it would have been in a bigger, more important fight. Actually, Nick, you know what? I was told after my fight at Madison Square Garden, after I lost, my management team told me, we didn't want to break this news to you, but you were actually going to fight for a continental title had you won that fight. And the commission called us and they said, you can start announcing it at the post-fight press conference and you could say, I'm fighting for that title now. This is my next fight. I'm going to be fighting for that title. I was going to be the first ever Arab and Saudi fighter to fight and win that continental title. The moment they told me that, regularly what you should feel is disappointment and you should be upset. It should be like, man, what I felt and what I thought, because I trust what is written for me more than what I want, is now I know why I lost. Now I know why it was written for me to lose at Madison Square Garden, this fight. Because if I had fought for that title at that time, I would have lost. I would have lost that fight if I had fought for that title at that time after that win. It's not my time yet. I'm not ready yet. If I win at MSG, I go fight for that title. I only got one shot at it. If I lose that fight, that's it. So that's why I lost. That's why it was written for me to lose, because I wasn't ready to fight for that title. But will I still fight for that title? Definitely. Will I still do it? Yes. When? When I'm ready. When it's time, without comparing it to the timing of any other person.
Was there a moment when you truly felt like quitting? And I'm not just saying one night you're laying there and you're like, oh man, I don't know. But like you truly felt, you're like, I'm done. I don't want to box anymore. I want to think about boxing. I'm over this. Like you truly were so close to just wrapping it all up and saying, I'm done.
Yeah, that it's actually the reason why I speak about comparison kills so many dreams and comparison kills so much potential of success, because these are the moments where I actually felt like I want to quit and there's no future for me in the sport of boxing and there's no way for me to do it, is when I started comparing my timeline and my pace to the other champions doing it now. So I started seeing, okay, I'm 25 years old and I'm starting to compare myself to the 25-year-old champions who are in boxing now, and they're champions already. And I just got handed, that was at the time where I just lost. And I'm in that gray area. And I'm asking myself the tough questions. And you have to ask yourself the tough questions. And some questions you're not gonna like the answers to, but you have to push your ego aside. If you want to get through the gray area and you want to enjoy the gray area and reap the benefits of the gray area, the unknown, you have to push your ego aside and understand that some answers to the questions, you're not gonna like those answers at all. So I started comparing my journey at 25 to the other champions today who have titles at 25. They have world titles. But then I started thinking, I always put in my head that I also want to retire at the optimal age where the greats retired, where they retired at 30 or before 30 because of how much they achieved before 30. So all of a sudden, my chest got tight and I felt like the window that I have in the sport went from this much to this much. I wanted to retire before 30 because Sugar Ray Leonard did it. I wanted to be a champion at 25, by 25, because Devin Haney and Sugar Ray Leonard and Muhammad Ali and all of these people, they also did it. And then all of a sudden it felt like I only have this much time. Then one day I was speaking to someone who is so close to my heart. And they said that you don't have to be, I was talking about, I want to be the first to win this title. I want to be the first Saudi to win this, but I want to be the first Saudi to do that. And I need to do this fast because I want to be the first to do this. And that person said to me, she said, you don't have to be the first anymore. You just have to be the best. The moment I heard that, it just added 5 more years into my career. All of a sudden, to be the best, do it at my time. To be the best, do it at my pace. To be the best, do it the way that works for me. Don't compare it to anybody else. What works for Sugar Ray is not going to work for Zizo. What worked for Devin Haney is not going to work for Zizo. Canelo is not going to work for Zizo. They were brought up with a different system, different training equipment, different opportunities, different promotions, different everything. So why am I expecting the same pace and timeline and achievements, even though we were handed very different opportunities? We were handed very different circumstances, very different situations. So I don't have to be the first to do it anymore. I don't have to be the fastest to do it anymore. I have to be the best to do it. And sometimes slower is better than faster. So I felt like quitting after that MSG fight when I started thinking to myself, I'm handed something at a time where others are handed titles. Others are handed titles at this time. Others are handed, their career best wins at this time. And I'm handed my first ever loss. So that was the time where I didn't truly think I was going to quit, because my faith in God is much higher than that. And my faith in what's written is so much higher than that. So thankfully in my career, I've never actually felt like this is it for me. I'm going to quit, because if something about me you can never take away is how strong I am here and how strong I am here. So I've always just seen that, just how it was impossible for a Saudi Arabian boxer to come through and fight on the global stage, but the universe and God made it work somehow, because I was just working and giving it my all. If I continue to work and give it my all, then God and the universe, whatever you believe in, will make it work for me to be a champion and achieve what I want to achieve at the time I'm supposed to achieve it. Then I could call it a day.
One thing I was thinking about when you were talking about timelines is it feels like seemingly we're in this era of longevity with athletes. So I think of Djokovic, I think of Messi, I think of LeBron, I think of Tom Brady, all these athletes who have redefined the timeline, right? In tennis, usually it's like, all right, after 30, you should be falling off, NFL, as for a quarterback, like once you hit 33, 34, 35, like, your time might be up. But we have all these soccer, Messi, Ronaldo, right? What they're doing at their age, especially Messi, what he just did in the World Cup, like they are redefining their timelines. Now, imagine if you had told them like, hey, just so you know, by this age, you're probably going to be done. So that's one thing I keep thinking about is like, to your point, everyone does have their own timeline, and sometimes things fall into place that you aren't expecting. And it goes back to your quote, sometimes what's written is better than what has happened to you. Is like you truly don't know when things will fall into place. Like I'm sure, Djokovic didn't think like, hey, by once I hit 35, I'm actually going to be playing better than I was at 25, or I'm going to have more success than I did at 25. So it's crazy, man. This thing that we call life, so many twists and turns. You truly don't know what it all means, and I don't know that we ever will. Like even when we're on our deathbed, thinking back, I don't know that we'll lay there and be like, I now have all the answers. Like I don't think we will.
You have to embrace that. That's exactly what you have to embrace, I guess. That's exactly what it is. It's just always thinking about having to achieve something by a specific time and worrying about when you will achieve it, and that time is getting closer takes away from the moment. I've fallen back in love with boxing because I've started living in the present moment. And I started thinking, I have so much time ahead of me. I'm just a baby in the sport, and I have so much time ahead of me. And let the time actually be there, or the time is not actually there. Whatever is written for me, I'm satisfied because I'm happy living the present moment now. I'm happy living what is happening now. So I've fallen back in love with it. I've I've fallen more in love with it. Let's just say that I'm enjoying it more, enjoying the moments more, and I'm even able to detach the journey from the result and the result from the journey a lot better, because the only way to do that is staying in the present. You go to the future or you worry what happened in the past, you're never going to be able to detach this from that.
You have a beautiful quote. You said it's all beautiful, the ups, the downs, the moments, the memories, all of it. To have a beautiful life, maybe you just need to start seeing what you already have as beautiful. I love that last line. Maybe you just need to start seeing what you already have as beautiful.
That's exactly it. You just and you're only gonna see what you already have is if you stay in the present. You have to stay in the present. Enjoy the small moments and never let the size of the occasion take away from the small moments that you've always dreamt about as a kid. I, there are so many things that are happening in my career right now where at these big fights, even me just telling you the story right now, oh yeah, I bumped into Canelo a few weeks back. If I go back to my 11-year-old self and I tell him, not even you're going to bump into Canelo, let alone that you're just going to see Canelo on anything that's not TV, it would be mind blowing. So right after I bumped into Canelo, I'm only telling you the cool part. The very geek part is that I went on the group chat of me and the boys, and I told them, guys, you will not understand what just happened. I didn't even tell them about the conversation. I was like, I just bumped into Canelo, and we said hi, like, we know each other, and we said hello, and yeah, remember this? I was like, guys, this is Canelo. Do you understand? We're talking about Canelo. So this is the geek part. This is the part where I'm not gonna let the size of the occasions take away from these moments anymore. So you always, if you're thinking about the future, you're always thinking about what you will have or what you could have. And if you're thinking about the past, you're always going to be thinking about what you could have had. But that will always stop you from focusing in the present and then thinking and seeing what you do have. You know what I mean? You do have the moments that you were one day praying for, and today you're living. But all of a sudden, you're now worried about the moments that you're praying about today, and if you will see them in the future, just like you're seeing the prayers being answered today that you prayed for a few months back, you're going to see the same ones being answered in the ways they're supposed to be answered, not in the ways you would like them to be. You pray, you ask for it, you wish for it to happen. You don't make it happen. Something else makes it happen. A higher power makes it happen. The universe, God. So then you just put in the work, make sure you do all you can, you put in your max effort, and then the prayer will definitely be granted and answered.
Well, what I think about too is the arrival fallacy, right? This idea that once we achieve the goal, once we get whatever success, that now we're going to be happy. So we keep pushing off happiness as something that's going to happen in the future once we achieve our dreams, once we achieve our goals. But to your point, what I think all of us realize is once we achieve the goals that we thought one day were going to make us happy, we now have new goals that make us feel miserable, right? Because we're like, okay, great. I have 10,000 followers on Instagram, but damn, I would love to have 50,000 followers on Instagram. But to your point, what you don't realize is one day, in the past, you were praying for that day that you would get to 10,000 followers on Instagram. But we keep moving the goalposts. And I think it's both a positive and negative, right? It's positive in the sense that it keeps you competitive and it keeps that drive and you keep wanting and pushing for more. But it's also negative because then you never stop and appreciate what you already have. And it's why I love your quote, life becomes beautiful once you start realizing, what's beautiful around you. And so It's interesting. I don't know. A lot of it is human nature, and a lot of it is combating, some of that human instinct within us, and how we get past some of those things. But ultimately, I always go back to that Djokovic quote, like, listen, I'm just a human. Like, I have negative thoughts. I have all these things. It's just, how do we counteract those things? And it's one of my favorite takeaways from our pod today. Zizo, I have two more questions for you, and then I'm going to let you go. But I do want to say, I'm going to put this out into the universe right now. I need you to come back for a part two, because
100%.
I feel like we could talk for hours on end.
100%.
So we'll definitely get something scheduled. And if you've made it this far in the podcast, this is your gift. Your gift is knowing that Zizo's coming back for a part two, because I've just loved this conversation. First question, first of my last two. From everything that you've seen, either through your own experience, from studying other great athletes, what is the one thing that truly separates the great ones from everyone else? I'm talking about the champions, the GOATs, however you want to classify them, the great athletes. Just one thing. What separates them from everyone else?
How fast they forget. How fast they forget the good, how fast they forget the bad, how fast they forget the losses, the wins, the achievements, the failures, everything. How fast they forget. And that's what keeps the greatest athletes sane after retirement. We've seen so many athletes fall off the rails after retirement. The minute you retire is the minute you forget about the achievements, the adrenaline, the hype, the success, the losses, you forget about all of it. That was in a past life. Now tomorrow is the first day of a new life, So that's what I've seen separate the good from the great. The faster they forget, the better they achieve.
Last question. You've stated your goal is you want to become the first world champion from Saudi Arabia. Let's say we fast forward 15, 20 years into your future, and you do not become a world champion. Will you still be satisfied? Will you still view as this entire journey and everything that you've gone through as a success? Or will there be a part of you that says, damn, like I never got to my goal. I never reached the status of world champion?
If were my career to end, God forbid, but if my career were to end today, I'd be a very, very happy man. I'd be a very happy man and that's how it is. If I am able to be sitting in front of you with a smile on my face and I'm satisfied with the way my career is going now, and even if it ends tomorrow, I'm very happy with the way it went, then I'm going to be happy if I retire and I don't become world champion, because I separate the journey from the result and the result from the journey. Not because I didn't become a world champion, that doesn't mean I didn't have a successful outcome from my career. Holding a belt on my shoulder is just a result, but the outcome of being successful, the outcome of being a winner is, to me, in giving people hope, in impacting people, in making someone think that I can actually now do something. I can actually achieve whatever I thought I couldn't achieve. It's in the kids, it's in the people, the men, the women who are going to be in those arenas and in the stadiums, who are going to watch my fights, and maybe after the fight go like, whatever was holding me back from whatever I wanted to go for, I'm going to go for it now. That's the real win. That's my real purpose. Not to have a belt over my shoulder. It would be a great bonus. It's what I'm going for right now, but it's not the biggest thing I'm going for right now, 100%. Again, I don't want to be the first to do it. I want to be the best to do it. When it's all said and done, when Zizo is retired, when I'm done with boxing, I want them to say, this person did it like nobody else will be able to do it. This person did it in a way where we didn't think a Saudi Arab boxer or athlete, or even maybe any boxer or any athlete, could do it the way he's doing it. Maybe the way I'm impacting, the way I'm speaking, the way I'm talking, you never know what it's going to be, but what's written is going to be what's best.
Zizo, thank you so much. This has been such a great podcast. I have learned so much from you. It's just been an absolute pleasure, and
my pleasure.
It's why I said I need to have you back for a part two, because we could talk for hours on end. Before we sign off, where can people find you, follow you, see more of you?
You can find me on Instagram at the real Zizo, and you could find me hopefully all over the world now. We have big things coming up, so whenever I'm fighting near you, be there.
Love it. Zizo, thanks so much. All the best, man. And we'll talk again real soon.
All right. Thank you, brother. See you soon.